Welcome back to the CriblCon 2025 CriblCast News Desk. My name is Bradley Chambers. We're back here with Emily Archer. Emily, welcome.
Thank you.
What's been the vibe like today? This is incredible, right?
Oh, it's been just amazing getting to talk to customers, seeing what they're excited about. The keynote just blew us all away.
So what's been your favorite part so far?
I think watching folks at the UX booth really engaged with our researchers. I've been watching them walk through workflows and things like that, and it's exciting to see people caring about how you do the work, you know?
Now, you have a session coming up, and those will all be available on demand later, and it's really about making your projects and your deployments work. Why do you think, I mean, even when you get the technology right, sometimes your data projects kind of go sideways. What happens there?
I think it really comes down to communication, trying to just understand what are we trying to solve. As data experts, we typically know the options available to solve a problem, but a lot of times people will dictate the solution as opposed to being open-minded and letting you hear the problem you're solving, and then you can come up with the technical approach.
Well, and that's very much a curiosity. It's one of our values at Cribl is curiosity, and like asking questions and really thinking about things from, without any preconceived notions, not starting with the tech first, but do you think that's why engineers really need to focus on moving from just like bill of materials, technical requirements, to asking why, what problem and why?
I do. I think that the thing is, nobody wants to build something that nobody uses. And if you are willing to ask why, you can make the most elegant solution possible. And it's going to make everybody around you happy. And that's what we kind of hope to teach everybody.
Well, you don't want to build, let's just use a simple dashboard. I don't want to build a dashboard that's feeding all this data in if it's not useful and it doesn't solve a problem. Great that that's there, but if no one looks at it, why do we care?
Yeah.
If it's not helping us be better. What are some of the questions that IT and security engineers need to ask to uncover that, why of hey, what problem are we solving? And not what do you think we should build, but what's your problem here?
Yeah, I think that it starts with maybe in your request, trying to ask them to indicate what outcome are you trying to see, not what solution, what outcome. What goals will this help you provide? How can we help you meet those goals? I think that helps people think about it in a different way and start talking about and potentially unearthing even to themselves what they really need.
Well, because if you don't get curious about it, and don't stay curious, and you just say, okay, see the ticket, build the thing, build the dashboard, you may miss things. And you may, as an engineer, as a data engineer, may have context that the end user doesn't have. So if you understand more of hey, what the end result is, you may say things like, actually, what if we enrich this data with GeoIP data?
Exactly.
And then you'll get that light, and the light bulb goes off in their head, and they're like, oh, that actually would be really useful, and that's why that curiosity matters. How do you think engineers can build better feedback loops with their end users in the organization, not only to improve the data quality, but also just their experience over time?
I think that it's important for them to, meet with those core teams. We're not meeting to have meetings, We are having a sync just to build those relationships and ensure that people are comfortable coming to you. If it's a once quarterly, just sync on priorities, the backlog, something like that, it's going to start to build that feedback loop, make it stronger. Personal relationships are key, and it's going to make people even more comfortable to come to you and say, hey, this isn't quite right. Can we look at this again? And know that they can work with you.
Well, and I think the critical part of those meetings, and it can be virtually in person, is you think about Cribl software, we release new features all the time.
Yep.
And so if you're not then having a relationship with those end users, a good example is Cribl Guard. We released that a few weeks ago, announced it in June. Well, that's now available. So it's like you can go to those end users and say, hey, we're trying to solve this problem to make sure that no PII is injected into our data streams. Then you may say, hey, Cribl has this new guard feature. This is what it can do. Is that useful? They may be like, oh my gosh, yes. Or again, Insights, Notebooks, some of the new features we announced today. If you don't have a good feedback loop with those end users, you may never know, like Cribl launches something new that they would love, but they don't even know it exists because they're not the one who's managing the Cribl environment.
Yep.
How do you take that human-centered approach when designing data solutions? Like, is this on the front end, you have a bill of materials, like how do you even start with, because again, we're not talking about technology, we're talking about a lot of human relationships and solving problems.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just remember that as a data engineer, you're the expert. You know when that Spidey sense kind of tingles and this request feels like it's going to become something bigger. And when you see that, you feel that, you're like, take a second and talk to the requester. Just say, hey, what are we trying to accomplish here? Not in we're not pushing back. We just want to make sure that we're developing with you and that we're solving the problem with you. But it's not necessary for everything. Listen to that Spidey sense.
Well, a simple example that I can give you is, let's say you get a request from a user and say, hey, we need this data from our object storage moved back into our scent, this data range. Like, you could easily just take that ticket in, do it, and you're not getting in trouble for like doing what they asked. What if you said, hey, we have a tool called Cribl Search, so we can actually zone in further. Like, what actually are you looking for? If they say, we're looking for DNS queries on this date from this IP address, okay, we can zone in on that and in a faster moment move just that data back into our analysis system. You'll have less to analyze. It's faster for me to move it just from simply asking questions like, what specifically are you looking for? You could do the full data range. You'll have costs on having to onboard that into your analysis tool. Sure, let's just lock in and go further. So I think that's an easy way. And again, that's from building relationships. And this, again, we're not talking about technology. We're talking asking questions and building relationships and helping your end users solve a problem in a way that they may not know. Like, they just know what they want. You may know a better path to get there.
Exactly. It's exactly that. And it's one of those things that, if a decision is going to be hard to reverse, we just encourage you, if you're like, hey, I have a fork in the road, talk to your users, because asking the questions up front, it's going to save you time, it's going to give you the best options and the best user experiences.
Well, a friend of mine, he owns a venture capital firm, and he has a saying in the office, have you talked to a customer today? And if you're in IT, it should be, have you talked to an end user today?
Yep.
Like checking in, it's kind of this the whole thing of like having coffee with your customers.
Yep. Like,
have you spent the time like, hey, how's everything going? And they may say something like offhand, like, yeah, things are going well, but, and they say something flippantly, and that should set off that Spidey sense. Actually, Cribl announced this thing last week against Cribl Insights, they announced Cribl Guard. Like, we may be able to help you with that. If you didn't just go walk around or even just like a virtual coffee, like virtual Slack message or Teams or whatever you're using, like, how are things going? You have to be kind of proactively talking. So, Emily, thanks for chatting with us. Again, so much of this, this is not technical, this is being a better communicator, and that's
really is.
Sometimes for IT and security engineers like me and you as well, like, we think it's all about the tech, and we can empower better tech with better relationships. So thanks for coming on. We'll be back later with more from the CriblCon 25 show floor. Thanks for watching the CriblCast News Desk, and we'll be back.